you'll see a countdown, and we should see a live stream a few seconds later. We are live. Welcome, everybody. This is 914 Wired. Peter, take it away.
This is 914 Wired. We're all about Westchester and the neighboring communities that surround the county. Today we have with us Jim Maisano. Jim was a county's legislator for 20 years. He represented Pelham and New Rochelle. He's a former Marine. He was, when he was with the county legislator, he was the minority leader of the legislators. And now are you the only Republican appointed to a leadership role in Latimer's administration?
It's an interesting question because I think there may be a few others, but I'm the only elected Republican. That's someone that served in office.
Well, why do you think you did that? What do you bring? Tell people what your job is. You work for in consumer
Protection.
So I'm the Westchester County Consumer Protection Director, which is a fabulous job. I mean, I get to go to work every day and protect consumers. And I think George Latimer hired me because we had a really great working relationship for 2 decades. George served with me as a county legislator, as the first chairman of the board when I was elected. And then George went to the state assembly and the state senate. And we continued to work really well in a bipartisan way. So when he got his job, he asked me if I wanted to come on board his administration, and we both thought consumer protection would be a good place. So here I am.
What is the future?
Ardina has a consumer protection question since we have the expert.
Let's go to that.
Go ahead, Ardina.
Okay, I'm going to get right to the point. We are coming up in the heating season, and there are a lot of ways that heating companies do not respond promptly to heat emergencies. The reason why I found out the hard way, not to make it personal about me, but the heating company that I was using, I felt was not responding the way that they should in the last few days. I had to call them every day to make sure the work is going to be done, and fortunately the work will be done this week. But it just came with constant product. How do consumers protect themselves from getting ripped off by heating companies and making sure that their heating systems gets properly serviced in an emergency? That's part one. Part two, is there a backup plan if, God forbid, somebody's heating company doesn't have the manpower, the pipes break? Who do people call in that instance?
So that's a complex question. Obviously, because people have different types of heat. Some people have electric heat, some have gas heat, some have oil heat. So there's 3 different kinds. Let's just start with the oil heat. Our office inspects every home heating oil truck every year to make sure they're not ripping off consumers. We actually do a full check of their trucks to make sure when they're pumping that gallons of oil into your tank in front of your house for home heating oil, that's accurate. So that's one thing we do. And actually, we're really doing it right now. This is the time of year where the trucks are all coming because they need to be licensed by us if they're going to deliver home heating oil in Westchester County. For people that have gas or electric, you're dealing with, usually, at least in southern Westchester, Con Ed. And if you have a problem with Con Ed, you can call us. The only problem is, under state law, the Public Service Department, under the Public Service Commission, has exclusive jurisdiction under New York state law. But people do call our office, and we do intervene and try to talk to Con Ed and help consumers out. And if we can't help them, we send them to the state. So we do have a lot of interactions with people and their home heating oil.
But I'm not
on a related question. It's not exactly about heat, but all these different contractors in Westchester County that have to be licensed by the county. Do you guys create a list of bad actors of home improvement contractors, whether they be in the oil business or some other business, that
Yes.
people should have questions about hiring?
So a couple things. So we license 10,000 contractors in Westchester and field complaints against them. So we also have a list on our website called Renegade Renovators. Those are people, exactly your point, people that we have.
Where's that website, Jim?
Renegade,
Yeah, where's that website?
Westchester.consumer.gov.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the show notes. I'll find it.
That's
And
good, yeah.
So those are the people that were particularly egregious, ones that we caught, we sanctioned them, they didn't pay their fine, then we had to catch them again, or search them down. So these are the real bad actors, multiple violators. I mean, if somebody makes a mistake, we try to work with them and get them on the right path. Renegade renovators are the multiple violators.
And do you have the power to arrest them or have them charged with something?
So, the way we've run this office long before I got here is if a contractor is working without a license, we give them one chance to get a license if we catch them. The first time, we give everybody a chance. So, because remember, we're not the district attorney. We're not penal law. We're a compliance department. So we try to get those we catch to comply with the law. The second time, we're allowed to do two things. We could actually go to the district attorney and have a ticket written as a misdemeanor. We could also seize their trucks under the seizure law. So we're much more aggressive against multiple violators. First time violator, we try to give them a break. Oh, by the way, when I mean a break, meaning we'll write tickets, but you have to put your application in immediately, and we'll consider reducing the tickets if you get your application in.
Right. You give them an opportunity to straighten it out and make
Yes.
good with the consumer. Okay.
Ardina was going to ask another question. I'm
But-
sorry I interrupted you, Ardina. It just came up to me.
But not to beg the question, but I want to get back to that furnace that breaks down at 2 a.m. and the person's the person's service person is not responding. What happens? You got an 85-year-old woman in an old wooden house. It's 30 degrees outside. She's freezing. What recourse does she have? How does she deal with that?
So, if you hire a contractor and you're unhappy with their work, you can file a complaint with our office. You can find a consumer complaint. We're not going to be able to deal with something 2 o'clock in the morning when we're all in our house. But if the next day, if she felt like she got, I'm not quite sure how many companies are going out at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't think any are. But the next day when they come to the site, if you're unhappy with their work or you thought you got ripped off in some way, you can file a complaint with our office.
Actually,
handle complaint.
the point that Ardina was making, actually, every contractor that services HVACs has a 24-hour number, and they have in their contract that they need to respond. Isn't that what you meant, Ardina?
Yeah, because what you're saying, pardon me for saying, it doesn't sound very reassuring. If it's cold and somebody's standing there or sitting there wrapped up in a blanket, and they're kind of stuck.
Well, unfortunately, let me clue you in on one thing. HVAC is not under the consumer protection laws.
Oh,
So they are not licensed in Westchester County.
really?
Really?
Yep.
That's shocking to me.
Who are they
They were
licensed
never-
by? So who's their regulator?
There's part of what they do under state law, but not a lot. It's an industry, it used to be a lot of plumbers, electricians did all that work. And then this industry kind of grew itself. And I think it's fair to say it hasn't properly been regulated.
'Cause
But
I think what Ardina is asking about is you have a gas boiler or you have an oil burner. You have a contract because you have an expectation that this contractor is going to come out and help you out when that thing breaks down, and that you're not waiting online behind a whole bunch of other customers. And if they don't make good on that basic service level that they promised you, what's the recourse? Is that a fair restatement, Ardina?
Yeah. I'm just kind of reeling from what Jim just said about HVAC not being.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's-
But if it's an HVAC company, it sounds like there's no. But if they're a contractor, it's a plumber or it's a
Electrician.
boiler company. They
right,
should,
so that does happen a lot, where they're either, we do regulate them because they're plumbers or electricians.
Right.
So, I don't really have an answer to your question because the way it works is if somebody doesn't like the performance of the person they hire, they can file a complaint with our office. That's how it works.
So far, the headline of today's show is
HVAC,
HVAC urine TROUBLE.
you're on your own.
Yeah.
You don't have the county at least regulating it.
But to tell you the truth, I have heating and I have air conditioning in my house, and I've never dealt with HVAC. You dealt with my plumbers, electricians.
You don't have what is that light called that's on in your boiler? The
Pilot?
Yeah, you don't have a pilot. I don't have a pilot anymore. But what Ardina described, I had to deal with that for 5 or 6 years, where I ended up in the basement in the middle of the night, re re tur- tur-
Igniting.
reigniting the uh, the heating system. And then they'd come, but if a strong wind came, it would go out, and as Ardina pulled out of you, there's no recourse.
Yeah,
I think
that's part of the
I think
problem.
yeah. I think
Because
the answer is know who you're working with, because
They did come.
I have had that situation where there was a weird storm with wind and whatever,
The pilot
and,
went
and,
out.
and the pilot in the hot water heater
Yeah,
went out, and a part needed to be replaced. It was not user
but that's not
serviceable.
HVAC.
Somebody came over.
That's a plumber. So that'd
Right.
be covered by Jim's
That
office.
would be regulated by Jim's office.
But even if HVAC was in the law, it wouldn't change what I'm saying. It's still, if you have a bad experience, you call us the next day and file a complaint.
Okay.
There's the answer.
That's how
There's
the
the answer.
system's been going for decades.
So that's consumer protection. I'd want to insert something here. I want to kind of personalize the show a little bit and talk about something that's going on. And there is a connection to Jim Maisano. Get this, folks. So if you're watching this on the live stream or you're watching the playback on YouTube, it's not going to help you very much on podcast. But I have a picture here of 5 children. I am the one on the left.
The best looking one.
And the kid...
Is that my
in the-
backyard?
No, it's not your backyard. This was a class trip in 1971, I believe. I don't know who took the picture. Maybe my mother, maybe some other kid's mother. The kid standing next to me is Anthony Maisano, who's Jim's brother. How about
Yes,
that?
you were
Younger
friends
or
in
older?
kindergarten. You and Anthony were friends in kindergarten.
So maybe
At
this
Younger
picture-
or older?
so then this picture is probably from 1970. But my recollection of this. Go ahead, Peter. My recollection of this is that this was a class trip on a boat called the Clearwater, and my recollection is that the Clearwater set sail from Hudson Park in New Rochelle. So I went to New Rochelle Public Schools. Now, why is this all coming up? Why am I dredging up these old memories? It's not just because Jim Maisano was coming on the show today, although that is enough of a reason.
By the way,
we
it
can't get
reminds
away
us of
from
the station.
No matter what we do, Jim, can consumer protection do anything about getting the contractors out of the radio shows? Because no matter what we do, we seem to have leaf blowers going on while we're on the radio or on a podcast.
Or lawnmowers.
Yeah, but I guess Jim, I don't know, Jim, if you can help with that. Probably not.
I would just say this to you. You know, we
Yeah.
regulate landscapers.
Okay.
And
We need
every
to get after
time
these
the
people.
leadership of the landscaper organizations are in our office, all they do is complain about the leaf blowing laws, which are expanding and growing across the county. Most of the communities in Westchester now have leaf blower regulations.
And the regulations tend to tilt toward you have to use a battery operated leaf blower during certain hours and during certain parts of the year. We have that here.
Yes.
And tell them. But what I'm saying, I don't think it's regulatable or fixable, but it's like no matter what we do, no matter when we have this show, we have landscapers going on in the background. When
So
you were
can we
did this happen to you at WVOX, or just one of the things we want to talk about?
It
You
has
were on
happened to me.
WVOX.
It has happened at WVX.
Yeah. When you're on WVOX, you learn to live with lawnmowers and leaf blowers and all that stuff. Anyway, back to my story. So
And strange people walking
this
in the hallways.
weekend, I attended my 40th reunion from New Rochelle High School. So here's an interesting story. Of these 5 kids, 3 of them, Anthony did not attend New Rochelle High School. He went to private school. But
He went to Iron Prep.
I went to the public school, right? I went to public school, K-12. The kid in the middle, Neil Feynman, did, and the little girl all the way on the other side is Kimberly Elliott. Me, Neil, and Kim were all at this reunion this weekend.
Wow.
And
I saw you
showed-
wrote
and
to, I saw
yep,
you wrote to Kim, and
Yep.
Kim wrote back to you.
Yep, I showed them the picture, and they just they couldn't believe it. It's just
That's
like
adorable.
it's so unbelievable.
It's
And
great.
let me just get this off my chest. I was not into going to this reunion. I'm not a big nostalgia. I'm not really a sentimental type of a person, but I must tell you, it was a very touching experience to see these people. I wrote a Substack article. I'm going to put that into the show notes. Peter saw it. You're a writer. Did I do a decent job?
No, you did an excellent job.
Thank
More
you.
than decent.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it was just
There was emotion in
amazing.
it.
It was a very emotional experience. I didn't expect it. So they, in addition to, they had the big gala with the booze and the DJ and all that stuff. And of course, it was a lot of fun. There were about 150 people there, and they held it in New Rochelle, which is great. But in the afternoon at 12 o'clock, they basically had people go to the high school, and we had a photo there in front of the high school, and you can read about it in my Substack. But it was just really something to see, where these people are in their lives, and to get along, and to spend a little time with everybody.
Of your
Just
class of
really something.
650, how many of them have passed? Did you go through a list?
There was a memorial, and I don't remember the number, Peter, but it's never good, and it's a bunch of people. A bunch of people have.
In
are gone.
Portchester, we had a lot of people who died of drug overdoses.
That's sad. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very sad. Things happen in people's lives, but if you can get to a 40th reunion, I recommend that you go. And if you're fortunate enough to have, I could just a quick shout out, and I doubt you'll ever watch it, but Dawn Lloyd Macklin was a classmate of mine. She organized this thing. She pulled in a bunch of other people, and that's how they were able to get people from all different subgroups of the school to come out and attend. You had the black kids, white kids, every corner, football players, you name it, everybody was there. It was really something.
Changing subjects.
Yes.
Jim, you must be aware and an interesting observer to the dysfunctionality of the Board of Legislators right now. What do you attribute this to? Democrats eating their own? I mean, I don't understand this level of dysfunction in a body that is so predominantly one party, in this case, the Democrats.
So obviously, I have to be a little careful here. I work for them. So let me just say one thing I've observed in the last 3 decades about people running for office in general, but definitely the Board of Legislators. How about that?
I want to hear this.
When I first got involved in the 90s, most people running for office were getting involved because they wanted to make their community better. They happened to be a Republican or a Democrat, but they were involved in civic groups in their hometown. Name them PTA, Chamber of Commerce, Little League, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever. They lived in the community for a while. They were fully engaged into the community and civically involved in lots of organizations. And at some point, they decided to throw their hat in the ring with their political party, whether a Democrat or Republican, because they wanted to make the community better. And when I got to the Board of Legislators in 1998, all of them were like that. Everybody was like a neighborhood person, a community person. That's how they got involved. What drove them to civic life was getting involved in the community, not politics.
Okay, and now?
What changed?
And now?
Now, I will tell you that since the mid-2010s, and we know a lot of things happened in the 2010s and around that time, people are now running because I'm left-wing, I'm right-wing, I'm liberal, I'm conservative, I don't like Trump, I don't like AOC, whatever you want. You could draw a lot of analogies. But people are getting involved to run for office because they want to do politics. And I think that's not the best way to get into public service.
Ardina.
Again, the question was asked earlier about you being a Republican in a sea of Democrats. How is there any rancor? How do you navigate through legislation, getting bills passed, when basically those are your party opponents?
Because it doesn't work that way at the level I'm at. I think if I was in Washington, you'd be 100% right. But I'm not. I'm in Westchester County. Number one, and Charlie may remember, I was known as a bipartisan county legislator. I was always a moderate. So I always worked well with both sides of the aisle. I mean, I was kind of what I was known for when I ran for re-election. Usually people didn't run against me because, like, I don't know, someone once told me 30 or 40% of the Democrats voted for me because I was bipartisan. So that was always been my reputation. I brought it to this job. So all of the Democrats on the Board of Legislators that I serve with, they're friends. I worked with them. We worked in a bipartisan way. So there's still a level of community involved in all this, and personalities and knowing the people and working with them. So I've never had a problem since I've had this job as Consumer Protection Director, working with the Democrats. I have a fabulous working relationship with the county executive who hired me and the Board of Legislators, regardless of how many there are of any party.
And you had a mayor of New Rochelle, which was part of your district, who became mayor, Noam Bramson, not because he cared about New Rochelle so much, but he was waiting for Nita's seat and then did not win it.
Although I do think,
I
well,
think
look,
he's a
Rome-
classic example. I think he's a classic example of someone who ran for reasons other than serving in that job alone.
But I would just say this about Milne. He grew up in New Rochelle. He went to New Rochelle schools. His parents were involved in New Rochelle. His family was involved in New Rochelle. He came back from graduate school, maybe ran for office a little early in his mid-20s, but nevertheless, Noam is a true New Rochellian that loved the community and wanted to make it better. I mean, I've got to give him a fair shake on that.
I would agree with all of that, but I also remember that when he ran for county executive, he talked a lot about national issues. And I think that
Because he wanted to
that-
be
and
in Congress.
That's right. But I think that tilts toward what you're saying, Jim, which is there's this leaning toward adopting the platform of the party and talking about regional and national issues. And when that comes into the local sphere, and I'm not saying it shouldn't, it kind of changes things, because then you begin to look, even if you're a Democrat, you're a centrist Democrat, you look and say, well, I can vote for this person, I can vote for Republican. He seems to be on the right wavelength. But then what kind of goes through your head is, wait a second, this is like a stepping stone to Congress, to running for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I don't know if I can vote for this person if they're going to be a cheerleader for their party's platform, and then things become more stratified.
Like Mimi Roca was elected because of her experiences in Washington and New York State and all, and she was very locally centric initially, and all of a sudden she's starting to appear now on national broadcasts. You can see her and listen to her on CNN, MSNBC. I have no idea about Fox. I've never watched it, even though I worked for them for a long time. But you know, now I think she has aspirations beyond being district attorney. Jim, I don't think you took this job as a political stepping stone, but is there a political future for you? Is there something that you would be interested in running for in the future? Have you thought about that?
No, I mean, I did 20 plus years in office. I'm now working in the executive branch. I wouldn't run for office again. It's changed so much. It's not a world I want to be involved in, running for office in this current climate.
That's pretty sad.
That's an impressive statement.
It's an impressive statement, but it's very sad. Ardina, what are your views on this?
Yeah, that's kind. Well, I mean, I don't know how comfortable you are about elaborating on that, Jim, but I echo what Charlie and Peter were saying. That's a pretty profound statement. It borders on being rather, how do I put this delicately, rather bitter about the process.
Or defeatist.
So
maybe
Or sanguine.
or maybe realistic,
Or sanguine,
or maybe
yes.
maybe Jim is just realistic.
Yeah, I think it's probably
maybe
what it
this
is.
Maybe this is the unicorn who says, you know what, I served honorably for 20 years.
No one's, by the way, neither Ardina nor I are impugning anything you said.
But maybe this is the kind of person who's saying, I served honorably for 20 years. I can do other things.
Which is why we need someone like him back in public life so you can help clean it up.
What do you say, Jim?
I'm very happy in my current job. I love going to work every day, doing consumer protection. I'm going to continue to do that, and I have no interest in running for office. I mean, I'm going to have to say what I kind of believe is the current electoral system's broken right now.
In what way?
What I said before. I mean, first of all, listen, it's not just me. I don't want to act like I'm so great. When I was a county legislator, there was a lot of people there that were there to work bipartisanly, that worked bipartisanly every day. And we worked on legislation jointly in the county legislature. There were laws sponsored by both Democrats and Republicans. We sat in those committee meetings hours on end working on legislation together. That's the way it was. And I loved that. And I loved working as part of a bipartisan team. Wasn't just me. Look, there's always some legislators who are more partisan than others, even back then. But now, basically, it's a partisan warfare. Look at what's going on. Look what happened in the Congress last week, trying to extend the budget. It was unbelievable. I mean, if you watch that tale, it's a sad story for America.
It's this total disgrace. And you know what? As I was watching that unfold on Saturday afternoon, I felt like, all right, well, I listened to Hakeem Jeffries, and I listened to Matt Gaetz, and I listened to the Speaker of the House, and every one of them expressed something that, in isolation, kind of made sense, but they left out a big piece. And so you don't know who to believe, and that's where it kind of undermines everybody's confidence.
Charlie, just one other point, so I made a decision when I was a county legislator that I wasn't going to go higher because even then, it got more partisan as the higher you go. State legislature, Congress, it got much more partisan even then. And frankly, I didn't like the partisanship. It wasn't something that I was attracted to. I just wanted to do the work and pass laws and make New Rochelle and Pelham better. And I know that sounds Pollyannish. That's why I was.
Would your life have been easier in public office if you were in a different party?
Not that I know of. I think it's similar on both sides of the aisle.
Okay.
Do
Two
you
parties
Fair,
playing
fair
the same
question.
game.
Fair
So
answer.
our guest today has been, I don't know why I'm not, I have to be the sound engineer and the host. It's not easy.
Where's Nick?
Yeah, where's
We
Nick
need
when you
Nick.
need him?
We need Nick.
He's talking about Nick from WVOX, which is a closing question for you, Jim. WVOX went off the air. You were a long-time WVOX guy. Tell us a little bit about your experiences on WVOX, and are you gonna go back to radio in some way, shape, or form?
It's a great question because I don't have the answer, but I'm dying to know. I loved radio. I did it for 27 years.
Wow.
I ran for mayor of New Rochelle in 1995 and lost. And Mr. O'Shaughnessy called me and said, "You did a great job. You almost won. Would you like a radio show?" And I said, "Yes, that would be really cool." And I started in 1996, and I had shows on that station all the way to the day it closed. And I loved it, WVX. It was a true community radio station. We need more community radio. It was a place for people to just talk honestly about issues live on the air.
So, Jim, we're not trying to recreate VOX, but we are going to do an election night show. I know it's an off year, but there are local races. Would you be willing to come on and be a commentator through some of this?
Because I in the executive branch and I'm supposed to be nonpartisan, I'm not thinking that's the best idea, but I have some
Okay.
ideas who you should call.
You'll tell Charlie then.
So there you go, Jim Honest Abe Maisano. Thank you for being our guest on 914 Wired. This show, grew out of the WVOX show, and WVOX is no more. We moved it over to becoming a podcast.
And change the name.
In September of 2023. Thank you for coming on here. Be one of our early friends of the show. And on behalf of Peter Moses and Ardina Seward, I want to thank you for coming on here. Don't go away immediately because there's a little bit of machinery we have to sort out
Can I just
before
say
you
something to
go.
Ardina? Ardina, if you want to talk further about how to file a complaint or how you can advise people about filing complaints if you have a problem with a contractor, feel free to call me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being our guest.
Thank you.
Talk to
Thank you
next
so
time.
much.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye now.
We have to stay on.
Are we done now?
Okay, hey Jim, did you get a note on your screen that said uploading?
I don't know if it came or not.
You should be getting a message on your screen that says uploading or finished or connected or something like that.
I see 99% uploading.
All right, hang on, don't go away. Wait till that gets to 100%. It'll take another few seconds.
mine say?
Mine says 99%. It just changed from 67%. It should finish pretty quickly, and then we can.
Charlie, I am not seeing